inverted, narcissistic, and most importantly, completely pointless. Come waste an hour of your week with The Starting Block, Friday nights Australian time at dlive.tv/The Starting Block. Get in touch with us on Twitter at The Starting Block, no K at the end. Also, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or iTunes by searching for The Starting Block, all one word, or on Podbean at startingblock.podbean.com. Join the blockheads, tuning in their millions, right around the world.
You're listening to The Starting Block on TAVshow.com.
The following program is recommended for mature individuals and may contain material unsuitable for morons, cretins, and dishwipes. If you are a moron or a member of the PTL Club, please turn off your radio, because we don't need any more stupid, narrow-minded, pencil-neck geeks who wouldn't know the First Amendment if it came up and bit them on the butt. Thank you.
Okie dokie, roll 'em!
Nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change.
Hey, welcome to the Starting Block for another week. Big show as always. We've got the return of politics. That's right. Greeno does politics again. We've got Heatwaves. We've got Furists. We've got Draft Stat Man. All that and much, much more here on the block.
Standing tall on the wings of my dream. Rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain and thunder, the wind and haze, I'm bound for better days. My life, my dream, and nothing's gonna stop me now.
Greeno here from the Starting Block. On behalf of the block, we just wanted to let you all know that we're all in this together. Well, except if you have coronavirus, then stay the fuck away. But in every other situation, we're in it together. To all of you on the front lines, those of you turning a footstool, a wok, and a pitchfork into a home gym, those of you who have given your housemates a mental breakdown because you decided lockdown was a great time to learn the keyboard and the only thing you can play after 8 weeks is chopsticks over and over and over again. And those of you who are homeschooling and are now understanding the question you used to harass your maths teacher with of, when the fuck are we ever going to need to know this in the real world, is coming back to bite you on the ass. Just remember, like a 1990s Australian sitcom, we're all in this together. The days may be long, but in times like this, you can rest assured we will be here to waste an hour of your week, Friday nights Australian time, at dlive.tv/The Starting Block. So take care, social distance, whack on a mask, and subscribe to our show on iTunes. It may not cure coronavirus, but it sure will help us with our rankings. And isn't that really the most important thing right now?
Public Radio's loss is TAVshow.com's game. You're listening to The Starting Block.
Hey, welcome to the Starting Block for another week. You've got myself, Greeno, and I'm joined by a man who's has also removed his allegations against Ricky Martin. My co-captain Damo, how are we, sir?
Very good, Greeno. Good evening to you, blockheads, listeners around the world. Yeah, so I only glimpsed at that story. That was a couple of weeks ago. Ricky Martin, the latest celebrity to be accused of sexual improprieties, Greeno. When I saw that, I was like, so? Aren't they all doing it? Isn't he just the next? Isn't he just like the last one? It's not the first one.
Well, I think the twist on this one, like kind of like a soap opera, it was his nephew, I believe. So that threw the incest soap opera angle into it.
Nephew by marriage or
gay? So I don't think he's married, is he?
Well, someone might be though. If he's is it his brother or sister? I think he was married at one point, wasn't he? I could be wrong.
I don't know. I haven't dug too deep into the Ricky Martin
law.
catalog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he came out or something years later because there was like kind of talk. Oh, is he? Isn't he? I think he had a beard, Greeno, for a while.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. I just thought, well, they're all doing it now. So at this point, so what happened? The guy said, "Oh, actually, no, sorry, didn't happen. Sorry about
Apparently,
that."
Yeah. So obviously, some cashola must have exchanged hands, suddenly the allegations that came out, a week ago are now gone.
Null and void.
Dusted.
I often wonder, Greeno.
My bad. Didn't mean to say that.
You know how when we hear about a celebrity, I'm not saying anyone's innocent or guilty or whatever, but whenever we hear about a celebrity involved in something like this, and then we hear later on that, oh, well, there was a settlement out of court and money exchanged hands. Or you find out years later, oh, they paid $1 million to shut this woman up. And we always just assume that they must be guilty and they're paying them to shut them up. But I don't think that's necessarily true. You know why? Because let's say if I had $3 billion, right? And some fucking skank was trying to extort money out of me, I would throw $1 million at her to shut her up. If that's what it's going to take, hey, maybe she's cheap and it'll only take $100,000 and we'll do that. But whatever, I just don't, maybe you just don't want to deal with it. And if you've got billions, like what's the difference? Who gives a fuck?
Well, here's the thing. If you've got billions, you can pay big, fat, high-priced lawyers as much as you want, and you never even have to fucking walk into that court.
Yeah.
So they take care of it. So personally, I'd rather blow, if I'm a billionaire, I'd rather blow millions upon millions on legal fees and prove my innocence than vice versa. For me, a payout, for the most part, seems like an admission of guilt. Look, it may not have been exactly what was alleged, but something happened that I don't want to be put on the public record or a court of law to admitting to or being found guilty to. I would rather pay $1 million for that not to be put out there. It might not be as bad as it. It might not have he had a years-long relationship, which is what was alleged with his nephew, cousin, whatever it may be. But something fucked up enough happened that, maybe some cashola may have changed it. Allegedly. I don't want to fucking get sued here.
I understand the way you're thinking, but, let's consider a couple of things here, right? So if you're a public figure, you may be innocent, but you have to also weigh up the negative outcomes of being dragged through a court case, whether or not you're innocent or guilty. Having it on the front page, having people talk about it, dissect it, right? Now, you might be innocent. Now, the thing is, you'll be in court the rest of your life if you take that approach. If you every time someone accuses you of something, you're like, fuck it, I'll fight it in court. You'll be in court forever. If you're a rich person, you've got a target on your back.
Well, you won't. The lawyer will. You're in your private jet, mate. Talking about climate change.
Well,
busy.
And here's the other. Now, this is where I'm going to appeal directly to your skint nature and your tightness. Yeah. What if you do the numbers and it's actually cheaper to pay the strumpet $100,000 than it is to pay a year's worth of legal fees?
Well, no, here's the thing. Okay, so
now,
okay. I've thought about this, right? I've thought about it. Okay. Just in case you get in any legal trouble.
Yeah.
You got to do a cost-benefit analysis. So, but let's say I'm saying I'm innocent, right? I've never seen this girl. I don't know who she is. Yeah. She's just trying to milk me for
Sounds guilty to me, folks. Let's see. So let's take it to court. Let's talk about it in newspapers.
is I'm countersuing, so I'm going to make profit off this.
This is an investment in your eyes.
It's an investment. It's sitting there going, well, hey, no, I'm not going to pay. Why would I pay her off? I didn't do anything. So what I'm going to do is
Sir,
I've got
good news. What's that? Another anonymous whore has accused you of sexual impropriety. Fantastic. Cha-ching.
Put it on the balance sheet as future assets. That's fucking, that's coming in. That's assets right there.
Borrow against that. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just put it in the bank balance now. We're going to put it in as like, upcoming cash flow is going to be my countersuit for defamation of character against the strumpet, who I'd never seen before in my life.
Now, the other option is you can take your billions of dollars, right, and just commit the sexual improprieties in the first place, and then just throw money at them and say, "I don't care. Here's $1 million. Now shut up." Next, and bring in the next one. You could act that way too.
That's what happens with all these rich guys, and they make them sign like what is it, non-disclosure agreements, NDAs.
Yep.
But then they end up coming out anyway.
Yeah.
So the NDAs aren't worth the fucking price of paper you paid for it.
No.
And it's like, well, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So here's my thing: if you're a rich guy and you're into like doing freaky shit with women, there are legal ways to do that. Go and get yourself a hooker.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to do fucked up shit with someone, don't do it with someone who's like a victim. Yeah. Do it with someone who it's like a business arrangement. You're like, look, hey,
look, this isn't the 80s. Nobody cares about celebrities picking up hookers anymore. Once upon a time that was a scandal, but nobody cares. If a celebrity, let's say Jared Leto, gets caught in a parking lot somewhere, Greeno, with a hooker, like a tranny hooker, say, like Eddie Murphy style or something like that, right? Now, if he got caught with that, they'd go, "Oh, isn't that nice? What a lovely boy! Hey, he's acting nicely. Could be worse.
It was consensual. Yeah,
could be out there raping.
This is positive steps for Hollywood.
That's good, yeah.
Like with a hooker is a positive step for Hollywood. Moving in the right direction.
He's not drinking baby blood or anything. He's just getting his dick sucked by a trans individual.
There's no casting couch. There's no. It's all just. It's all above board. It's a business transaction.
Business transaction. Consensual contractual arrangement, Greeno. It's fucking brilliant. Nice.
Exactly. It's the Charlie Sheen principle.
Vince McMahon, Daryl in the chat, Greeno. Vince McMahon, WWE, the big swinging dick at the WWE, spent $12 million on an NDA allegedly, Greeno.
No, he did. He spent $12 million paying off these chicks that he fooled around with to not say anything, and now it's come out. So once again, those NDAs are not worth the price they're written on.
Yeah. There you go. Nice, Gary.
Nice, Gary!
Solid legal. We must stress, though, you should do everything we say. Clearly, great advice. Yeah.
Well, we know. Here's the thing, though. I'm not rich enough or attractive enough to be able to get down with any fucking freaky shit with women in any way, shape, or form.
No, you have to get the cheap ones that do freaky stuff, and they're usually the ones that have teeth missing.
Yeah, and I'd rather just not. I just move on. I'm like, I'll pass next. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Damo, it's a return. Greeno does politics. I don't like bringing back this segment.
I don't know if I'm a fan of returning. I thought this segment was done, dusted, dead, and buried.
So did I, sir. But fucking, it's back this week. So we need a theme song for that, but we're going to move on from it anyway. Now, here's the thing. I thought all my voting days were done.
Yeah.
I thought my political days were done. I didn't need to worry anymore. And then, lo and behold, I get this nice little letter in the mail throughout the course of the last couple of weeks, going, look, turns out there was a bit of a fuck up,
bit of a snafu
with our local council elections.
Bit of a whoopsie doodle, Greeno.
Like 9 months ago.
What happened?
So I don't know. Something happened with the iVote.
What did our illustrious leaders do, Greeno?
Not our illustrious leaders. It's something fucked up with the vote, and then someone contested the vote, going, "Hang on, this system was down. I feel it's like impacted the outcome of the election, even though the winner was fucking well ahead anyway."
Well, the fucking Russians again, was it?
Yeah, 100% the Russians. What was it? It was fucking iVote, so it was like online voting. So there's the issue. Yeah. So what happened is they're like, well, we're going to throw that election out.
Right.
Now,
do-overs.
We're going to have to do it again, which means I had to fucking trudge on my lunch break
Go back and do it again.
To vote again on something that I didn't want to vote on in the first place to do again. So out of spite, I looked up which party challenged the result and made sure I voted for everyone but them.
Nice, Gary!
That's exactly what I would have done too. Because it would have been, fuck you.
I'm like, this is local council election. No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
No, everyone walks in and no one knows anyone. You just kind of go, whatever. Like, we'll tick our box. Let's fucking move on. We're not going to get our fine. Happy days.
Because
Someone
whoever
challenge that
contested it obviously lost by a very small margin, and then they're jumping up and down screaming their tits off about it. And it's like, you know what? If you don't stop complaining, I'm not going to give it to you. Okay, okay, let's make it certain then. Let's make it certain they know they lost this time. So they can't fucking, make us drudge us out here and do this all over again.
and impact everyone and fuck over them. Like, it's 20 minutes of my day, but 20 minutes, like, I'm a busy man. I'm a very busy man, as is evidenced by this show. We can waffle on for 2 hours, but that 20 minutes during my lunch break, that's important time, Damo.
Can I ask you a question, Greeno? I want to ask you. Now, I have previously, just so happened, like, we would never encourage people not to vote on voting day, obviously, because that's a crime in this country, believe it or not.
Big fat $400 fine if you don't rock up.
Hey, we love freedom down here in Australia. Now vote. Vote for me or else. Right? So I have, for the first time, in a recent election, I just so happened to wake up that day and thought, I think I might forget to vote today, and I did. And I was, the thing came in, for a while there, I thought I got away with it. Because I thought, well, they're not going to care what I do. It's just some little local election. They're not going to worry about that.
Yeah.
Sure as shit. It was like 2 months later. It comes in the mail. Hey, you didn't register today to vote, and you're going to have to pay. Greeno, the fine was $50. And I said, shut up and take my money. It was worth it. Here, take.
That is not.
I was paying the government. And no, but hear me out. Now, see, for $50. Now, if it's $2,000 or $5,000 or something like that, then it gets a little. I'm showing up to vote, rain, hail, or shine at that point because I can't afford not to. But for $50, at that point, I'm like Charlie Sheen, and the government is the hooker. I'm Paying the government to fuck off, to go away, to leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Hey, Boogs, we want you to come down today, participate in democracy, come and vote for us. None of us do what we say we're going to do, and none of us listen to you or care what you think. So, but come down and vote for us. We're going to represent you. And it's like, here's $50. Now fuck off. I don't want to hear it anymore. So fuck that.
Nice, Gary!
Make sure you put that on your tax return this year as a deduction, though.
That's a deduction. Get that money back.
Election expense.
Election expenses. I don't know if it works that way, does it?
Fuck it, put it in.
Put it in.
No one's going to check it.
No one's going to check. That's how we got this problem in the first place.
That's right.
Good advice. We're shelling out some good advice tonight, aren't we, on the show, hey?
Now, here's the thing. You work from home, man. Have you done your taxes? You're about 6 years behind on your tax, aren't you?
No. I was at one point, but then we got all that sorted. So we're all spick and span and up to date.
Excellent. Make sure this year you got to look at your home office expenses.
Home office. Yeah, didn't they just bring in a whole bunch? They literally just brought in a whole bunch of rules with the last budget, I heard.
They did.
And the
It's
tax office said, no, you can't claim this, you can't claim that. We're going to clamp down on this.
There's a COVID method, right? Yeah. So there's 3 methods this year. Once again, this is very exciting for listeners, but fuck it. Because Americans, they love their taxation law. Australian taxation law.
We idolize the IRS. We look at the IRS. It's one of the things that culturally Australia looks to in the United States and says, geez, I wish we had one of them. Well, the government does anyway. They look at the IRS and go, geez, we'd love to have one of them. You know, those people can knock your house down, Greeno, if they don't like you over there in the States. They just come in and take it. You know what I mean?
Actually, a bit more friendly. They'll send you a nice letter.
We get letters.
They'll send you a message.
Please leave. Please leave. You're squatting.
Can you check your MyGov account? That'd be appreciated.
The only way for them to kick you out of your house here is they have to call a current affair. And a current affair has to go down there with like an ambulance chasing pretend wannabe journalist and stick the camera in the shed that you're squatting in and go, sir, are you gonna start paying rent, sir? This is disgraceful. You'll be on one of those bad neighbors shows, Greeno.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. Definitely.
So back to the taxation law. So there's 3 methodologies that you can do now. Now, because of the third one they've introduced, which is kind of like COVID related, where they pay like 80 cents per hour, something like that, over the course of the week, over the entire span of the year.
It's like prison wages, isn't it?
But they used to have an old one which was like 65 cents per hour because most people weren't working from home. But they're like, look, most people are. They're going to increase bills. Will increase to 80. So no one uses the first method. Then you got the actual cost method, which never works out as much as the 80-cent method. So you got to collate it all, work out the math, but make sure you do that in your tax this year. Trust me, well, come see me.
Fascinating stuff,
number
ladies
to
and gentlemen.
put down. I'll say, write this down in your fucking tax return. It'll take you 6 minutes. When I come over and visit you soon, I'll do your tax for you.
Okay, because you know me, I'm just someone I don't claim anything. I just go, I just look at it and go, all right, well, I owe them this year and I'll pay it. And if I get some back, I go, sweet. Because I just don't invest. See, I've been accused in the past of like, why do you want less taxes? Like that's going to mean people go hungry and stuff. It's like, I probably pay more than you fucking do just because I'm not monitoring it. I'm not caring as much, I'm generous in apathy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a good guy, Greeno.
I did your tax once and I got you a nice little return there.
I did get a nice little return there that year. That was back. That was back, Greeno. You don't even get paper anymore. I only found out this year that you don't get paper fucking tax returns because I was waiting for one to come up in the mail. And the lady, swear to God, Lady Boogs turns to me and she looks at me and she goes, "Really? You thought that's what? Like they haven't done that for years?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. How have I been getting my tax then?"
5 years, haven't done that. Paper tax return. It's all online now, man. It takes 2 minutes. I'll literally knock it off when you make me lunch. Like,
have a cup of coffee here. Do this. Yeah.
You gotta make me a sandwich. I'll do your tax for you. Like it'll be fine.
Nice,
like I'm
Nice, Gary.
Damo, we're back. It's back flood time here in Australia, and look, it just feels like it hasn't stopped raining for the better part of 6 months now.
Never thought I'd yearn for a bushfire, Greeno. Yet here we are.
Bushfire, a drought, the good old days, Damo. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I had to sit there and suffer with like the pissing and moaning, complaining of the British this week, complaining about a fucking heat wave, and I'm like, fuck man, shit must be real in England, like heat wave, damn.
Surface of the fucking sun over there.
29 degrees.
Nice, Gary.
Yeah, fuck, cunt. Like 29 degrees.
Ooh.
And then I heard people going,
how awful.
You got to understand, like they're not equipped for this. They're not equipped for 29 degrees. That's their problem. No. Like if you're not, that's not global warming. That's like autumn. That's come down to Australia autumn, in spring.
I think they did have like one day at 40. And I remember, do you remember remember around the time I got married, right? Remember on the day I got married, it was like 45 degrees, 46 degrees.
I remember.
Like
I was in
where everyone was in 3-piece suits. It was fucking brutal.
I remember.
Absolutely brutal. But it was up around like over the 40 for like a week, 2 weeks. It was just, the place was melting, Greeno. You remember a mate of ours from Scotland. So Daryl's in the chat and he's in Scotland. I don't think it's been as bad up there. I think it has been mostly England. And I think, in maybe south of Scotland, but I think kind of when I've looked very quickly at like the weather maps when they flash up on TV and stuff, I'm like, okay, Scotland's not cooking by the looks of it because it's just too fucking cold up there. And, it's just, I don't think the place can cook, you know what I mean? But our mate who lived in Glasgow, right? He lived across the road from this park and he lived in like a university area, right? A lot of young people, like a lot of shared houses and shit like that. And across the road, there was this park and he said, during summer, you'll see ghosts out there. And I'm like, what do you mean ghosts? And he like, what are you talking about? You don't believe in like ghosts and stuff? And he's like, no. He's like, no, ghosts. He goes, what they are is like they're young, like, 18, 19, 20-year-old guys who like because it's sunny in Scotland for like a week and a half at any per year. And it's like 20 degrees. It's freezing outside for us, right? But they're out there with their shirts off trying to get sun and they're fucking pale white. So they're the ghosts who walk around this fucking during the week that they have of summer. Oh, fucking hell. All skinny as rakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic. So, heat wave in the UK, hey? Stop your bitching, Englishman. It's fucking English moaning all the time. Whinging and fucking moaning. Moaning, whinging, moaning, whingy, moaning, bombs, Greeno.
enjoy the sun. Fuck. Like, I remember, I think I told this story before, like when I was in the US, like 10 years ago, and we're in New York. It was a heat wave then. Don't get me wrong, like, it was pretty fucking warm. Like, it must have been 39 degrees maybe.
Yep.
39,
It's
40
pretty
there
hot.
or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And which is, don't get me wrong, toasty, but not like Australian. Like, it wasn't even Australian toasty.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't Australian 40. Like, and they cut off, like, there's normally around Central Park. They have like these horses and carriages that you can walk around and that.
Yep.
So hot, they cancelled the horses. No one was on the street. And me and my wife were walking through New York in what is meant to be like the peak time, busy time of the day. And we're the only ones out there. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
They're all
what's going on
hiding
here?
from the sun.
And everyone was like inside, refusing to come out. Too hot, too hot, too hot. I'm like, only two Aussies. But so we basically had New York to ourselves.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nice, Gary.
Nice, Gary.
It turned into a rom-com, Greeno. You were skipping
That's right.
around New York. Hey, straight
Yeah.
up at the hot dog vendor, no line. Check it out. The hot dog vendor was like, really? You want fucking Tabasco sauce on it? Are you
Yeah, mate,
nuts?
fire it up. This is Australia, mate. Australia. We fucking need a beer.
Yeah.
Need a beer on the hot dog stand.
No Mountain Dew, only Calculash.
Cockadash, no ball, stick. So yeah, it's different countries deal with the heat. A lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I remember I got like English heritage. My grandfather's from like Isle of Man, and
It's
he's
kind of English. They're different.
No,
They have their own
no,
flag and
his
shit.
His brother was from England, and like
Yeah,
all his
but
family.
I'm
But he
saying
was-
the Isle of Man is its own weird little
Its own little
place.
thing, yeah.
Isn't that the place that has the flag that's like the three legs in spokes in a wheel?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I know that's where they have that suicidal motorbike race, the Isle of Man,
That
the
is
TT,
correct.
Greeno.
Spot on. It's fucking insane.
Which we're going to have to give a dick move.
Dick!
Because I suspect it's the same fucking idiots, Greeno, who banned the... I suspect it's the same fucking idiots who banned the grid girls in Formula One, right?
Oh, okay.
So they're now trying to ban the Isle of Man TT. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube
Look it
and
up.
look for the Isle of
Crazy.
Man TT, and you can get on board cameras like on the motorbikes. These guys
These
flog.
guys are lunatics.
They are lunatic. They flog these bikes in this. It's basically like a countryside village, right? And there's brick walls that have like the people's
Cliffs.
fences, cliffs, trees.
It's fucking insane.
People die in this race like regularly, and then so
Yeah.
people
Less
who
than
don't
10
even
deaths a
care.
race.
But this
Good year.
again, the people who banned grid girls in Formula One were not fans of Formula. They don't care about Formula One. They're not interested in it. We now have a professional class whose job it is to be self-appointed, go around and just stomp on things that they don't like, right?
As you pointed out, I guarantee you, bold frame glasses.
Bold frame glasses every single time, Greeno.
Every single
Nice,
time.
Gary.
So they've now moved on to this Isle of Man TT race. And again, they're not motorsport fans. They don't fucking watch it. They're not interested. They're trying to ban it because it's quote unquote too unsafe. Yet everyone who chooses to do it wants
Knows.
to be there. They
We know it's
wanna do it.
unsafe.
That's why they're doing it.
it.
That's why they're doing it, because it's unsafe. That's
Yeah.
their thrill. That's how they get off. Now, it's you get off, if you're trying to ban this race, you're the kind of person who gets off and starts flicking their bean when they get an account when they get an account suspended on Twitter, Greeno. That's what gets you off. And I don't want to take that away from you. Please go report. I want you to be happy. But just leave the let the suicidal motorbike riders risk life and limb for our entertainment. Once upon a time, Greeno, we used to feed slaves to lions in coliseums. Now, we can't go back to that way, but we still need to get a little bloodlust sometimes, don't we?
Why can't we?
Why can't we?
Like, Gladiator was one of the biggest selling films, 20 years ago now?
20 years
Like,
ago.
there's still that kind of audience for Colosseum, lions, those kind of things. I took my son to the zoo the other week and fucking
Throw a kid in there. Throw a slave in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded a bit of a gnaw.
Yeah. I say, Greeno, the whole world is trying to make sport. The whole world is going off on. being safe, Greeno. Everyone wants more safety. Safety.
I was watching something the other day, and people were talking about like the people outraged about NFL and concussions and all that, and they were literally asking the legitimate question: how long before the NFL has to turn into flag football?
I want to say I don't believe it, but I do.
Yeah,
You know what I
like, it was a
mean?
legitimate sports show. They're like, look, we need to work about safety concerns here. Like, with
All
with
right,
the
ladies and
safety
gentlemen,
and
it's Friday
concussion.
night. It's Friday night flag football. We are here with the Washington football team and the inoffensive Chicago team. They're playing flag football tonight. Nobody gets injured. Of course, nobody touches each other, and there's nobody watching either.
Yeah, nobody watching because no one cares. It's I think we need to go backwards. I think you've stumbled on something there. If we can find a way to bring back that Coliseum lion,
Yes. Well, I just feel like they're all going towards more safety. How about we start making things less safe? Why not? Why can't we try that?
The exception to the rule is the popularity of UFC. So there's the bloodlust out there. Of like, we want to see people fuck each other up.
They do. People really want to see
no
that.
concern for their bodies, their health, their futures.
Yep.
Fuck that. We want to see that. We'll pay to see it on pay-per-view. And it's one of the biggest selling sports in the world at the moment in the UFC.
I mean, the last one we had, I want to see man versus beast, Greeno. The last thing we had sort of in that realm was the bullfighting, but they put a stop to that, about 10 years ago?
Yeah, you can't have that either. Dangerous. Too dangerous.
Too dangerous. But he wants to be there. He wants to be in there.
The bullfighters wants to be there. That's right.
This whole push towards safety, Greeno, is getting out of hand. I saw a story earlier before, Greeno. We have a segment. We have a music festival here in this country, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, called, is it Splendor in the Grass, Greeno?
Splendor in the Grass. Are you talking about the fact it got cancelled?
Got cancelled. Now, here's the thing, right? So there was a bit of rain and there was some mud at the site. And they came out and said, all right, so people lined up for 12. It's a very popular festival, this thing, right? I've never been.
It's been cancelled for the last 3 years due to COVID.
So
people were like champing at the bit to fucking go to this festival. Forked over hundreds and hundreds of dollars, got their campsites ready, all good to go.
Yep. Yeah, and lined up for 12 hours, and then upon being let in, then got told the performance would be cancelled because it was too unsafe because of the mud. And I thought, well, that's a great call, because we all know that nobody's ever had any fun in a field with mud, taking drugs, watching music. That's never happened. Nobody's ever had fun in that scenario. And thank you for keeping me safe.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
Were they wearing masks in the line though, sir?
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, that would be the sight. So all everyone's off their tits, taking LSD and drinking themselves into a frenzy, and they're all fucking each other, and it's Splendor in the Grass. That's what you do there, right?
Yeah.
And
get fucked up.
Get fucked up.
Get down. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Get fucked up and get down. And some guy.
That should be the tagline of this show.
Get fucked up
and get down.
But then, Greeno, how would you be then if you're about to get your groove on? You've popped your first couple of pills, right? Yeah. You've had your first couple of bongs back, in the cup. Right, you're kicking in. You drank your 6 bourbon and cokes on the way to the place, so you're buzzing already. You're ready to go, and you want to go in and you're going to watch yourself some fucking Grinspoon or something, and it's going to be a good afternoon. No, we're going to rock on, man. Might even get some pussy later. Who knows? Yeah. The world is your oyster.
Come to my tent, ladies.
Yeah, all of that's going through your head, and then some fucking wanker in an orange vest and a hard hat comes up to you and says, whoa, holding a clipboard, Greeno. Says, no, look, we're going to have to shut this whole thing down. It's too unsafe. You might slip over.
Nice, Gary.
Might slip over in the mud, and we can't have that.
To be fair, I'm looking at this lineup.
No one good. There are no good bands anymore.
You got Flume on Friday.
Who's
Midnight
that?
Oil, who haven't been relevant for 30 years.
I'd still go and watch Midnight Oil, like just for the nostalgia. Why not?
Yeah, King of the Mountain. Yeah. You've got Petite Biscuit.
Okay. Who?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Saturday's headlined by The Strokes.
Okay. I've heard of them. They're pretty famous, aren't they?
Sunday is headlined by Tyler, the Creator. Who gives a fuck? Never heard of him. And then Grinspoon is like 12th on the card.
Gritters.
on Sunday.
Well, I knew that was the one band that I could, because they play every festival in this
That is
country.
literally, I'm looking, there's literally 60 bands here, right?
Is Frenzal Rom on the list as well, Greeno?
I'm going through, I'm looking at the names I recognise. So I know Midnight Oil. I know Baker Boy. I know no. I know The Strokes. I know Violent Soho. I know Tim Minchin. This is like a 3-day festival. So this is like I'm halfway through day 2, and I can name 4 people. Still nothing. Grinspoon on day 3. I know G Flip just because she's annoying, and that is it. Okay. So out of 3 days worth of festival, I probably know 6 people. Which one, I guess, shows my lack of current musical knowledge. Secondly, all the more reason I have no issue with this fucking venue being cancelled.
Well, they did them a favour then. So they're too stupid to know. So they forked out, the hundreds of dollars to be there, not realising that there was shit bands, and somebody came out and said, no, we're closing it down. It's too unsafe. Just slip over in the mud. Speaking of not knowing people, Greeno, this was an interesting one. You sent this through. Joy of Pessy tweeted this out. Urge to simp is strong. Lana Del Rey just came out against furries and called them gross. The issue I have with this is, Greeno, I know what a furry is, right? I know, I understand furries, been talking about them for years. I'm well aware of what furries are. I have no idea who Lana... Can
you explain to our listeners, though, what a furry is?
Well, I can, but I have no idea who Lana Del Rey is, Greeno. So for me, the furries are higher up on the totem pole than Lana Del Rey is, because I don't know who she is. What does she do?
Singer, I believe.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Once again, falls into that Splendor in the Grass.
Is she on the list?
No, she's not on the list.
Okay. Now, Splendor in the Grass, a muddy field would be bad if you were a furry, because you'd get all that mud sticking to your fur, Greeno.
Can we explain the furries, though? That's what I'm asking about. Like, the furries are people who like to dress up in kind of like certain costumes.
Yes.
Furry, per se.
Yep.
And make love in said costume.
Yes. And there's a constant debate, because a large section of the broader community believes that the whole reason that the furry thing exists in the first place is because of the sexual angle. Like, there wouldn't be a furry community if they weren't having furry sex with each other. And then the furries themselves say, no, it's not about that at all. It's about self-expression and all the usual kind of lines. Now, you make your own decisions, Greeno. I don't know where you might fall on that, on that debate.
I'm pro-furry.
Okay.
Except if they get knocked up, then I'm anti-pro-choice.
Yeah. Who's going to look after this little fox here?
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like if that little seed, we don't want to expand the furry group if we can.
If you impregnate a fellow furry, Greeno, whilst under the guise of your furry persona, does your human form still have to pay child support?
Fair call. Because once again, we don't want to unfairly align with a gender or a species when it comes to these kind of things.
Well, we can't assume that the person is human. What if they might identify?
They might identify as a furry. And if they identify as a furry, then we've got to treat them as a furry. I don't know if child support law applies to both furries and humans.
I'm actually a furry. I'm actually a furry like 100% of the time. And when I put on my costume, I put on the business suit. And that's me, acting out. That's a character.
It's a character.
Yeah, the character that goes 9 to 5 and pays the bills and, takes the car to the car wash. That's just the character I'm playing. But when I'm actually in my furry costume, having sex with other furries, that's actually me. That's my real self, Greeno.
If the furry person doesn't vote, do they cop a $50 fine?
That's a good question. Does the furry have to register?
Well, yeah, I think so. If you identify as a furry and as like,
you get 2 votes.
Like 9 to 5, I'm Jim Bob, but 5 p.m. afterwards, I do my best work after dark.
Yeah.
Like I identify as something else.
Yes.
Well, I feel like you've got 2 different identities, so you probably need to register for voting twice, and probably need to pay double tax for that matter. But I imagine the 5 p.m. after probably doesn't earn an income. So
that's true. Yeah.
He's probably going to moosh off the government teat.
Yeah, so the fur is actually being supported, like the costume is supporting the furry now at this point.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so you're just doing a gig in the suit.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Could be dangerous.
Very dangerous, Greeno.
Question for you, sir. How much would you pay to go see Elton John?
Zero.
Zero? You're not an Elton fan?
Oh, I don't mind him, but he's had his day. I don't want to go to a funeral. That's why I don't want to see Elton play.
Fair call. I was looking because he's still on a farewell tour. I was thinking about
who died?
I went on like a rabbit hole there during that segment where we were talking about. I was like, oh, I saw Elton was playing after the Splendor of the Grass, blah blah blah, and $349 for the best tickets for Elton, $149 for like the shitty tickets. That's not bad for Elton's farewell tour in Australia.
So you can save $1 a day for a year and go see Elton John play.
Yeah.
Imagine showing up with 365 gold coins and just slapping them down on the table at Ticketek.
Did I see something recently that they're starting to ban the coins? Like they're getting rid of the 5-cent piece?
Probably. No, they want to get rid of all the hard currency. They want everything to be digital.
Yeah,
digital
we
currency
can't have that because then you'll never have. Like they'll just freeze assets, and that's dangerous.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. Why do you think they want to do it?
Exactly.
Hey, Greeno, we saw that you were mocking the government on Twitter there. We think you might be a potentially person of interest. So we're just going to hold on to your money for a while so you can't leave the country or anything like that while we investigate you. And there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Where the fuck am I going, by the way? I don't leave my house.
Well, you know.
Not
in
threat.
theory, you know.
In theory, yeah. But with that said,
you're back to here. Take $50 and fuck off, then. Okay.
That's why I've got wads of cash kind of lying around the house, just for the fun of it, just in case, like emergency money.
Rolls.
Worst comes to worst. Rolls of bank bills, gold, bullion, if you will.
Bullion. So you got bars, gold bars in the house.
Yeah, just in the fridge.
Just in the fridge. At least in the freezer, I would put them. You know.
The fridge is fine. Keeps them chilled.
Not a fan of burying in the backyard, Greeno? Too risky.
Too risky. Yeah, too much water, mate. Too much rain. Can't have that.
Yeah, well, they'd be up on the surface by now, wouldn't they?
Exactly.
With all the water.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Good time to go to a break.
Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
45's enough.
Do you like your novelty comedy songs organic? Handmade with painstaking care, put into every note? Well, look no further than Irrational Times. Using only the finest instruments to create an experience that your ears will thank you for later, Irrational Times attempts to elevate the whimsy to a desirable level. New songs and sketches every week, so check it out.
There's a place that we can go to watch old things. All the warm, fuzzy member berries it brings. It's a special little spot tucked away on D-Live. Enjoy the joy of Pessy. Campy old movies and old cartoons. We hope to see you over there very soon. It's our special little spot tucked away on D-Live. Enjoy the joy of Pessy. When we were kids and there wasn't any school, we'd sit and watch all the best cartoons, eating cereal until it was noon. We never thought that 30 years later it'd still be cool. Saturday night and cheesy movies, the ones that used to show us boobies. It's our special little spot tucked away on D-Live. Enjoy the joy of Pessy. Enjoy the joy of Pessy. Enjoy the joy of Pessy.
Now with less than 3% sport content. It's the starting block on TAVshow.com.
back to the block, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. MySpace. Check it out.
See, MS Teams was fully down globally yesterday.
Was it really? What time?
It was. It was kind of like middle of the day, but like it just goes to show how dictated we are by certain companies and technology.
Yeah.
And my company couldn't communicate with each other for like 4 hours yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, corporate sabotage is real and it happens.
Yeah.
And if, I'm not obviously not endorsing, not that anyone has the power to do this kind of thing unless you're a certain, say, dictatorial nation in the vicinity, perhaps you might have that capacity, but I certainly don't. But that's if you wanted to cripple like a competitor, let's say like there's one big day, let's say it's trading day or something, Greeno, or some big stock day or some big float of some company or whatever. If you take down the other guy's communications, just one app like Teams, all of a sudden their whole business grinds to a halt for 4 hours. You win. You're in front. You get the deal. I'm amazed that doesn't happen more often, to be honest.
Yeah, you expect it. Like it was a global outage, which was kind of weird, but at the same time, like it was very convenient for me because I had a upper manager trying to arrange a meeting with me and I had a reason to not reply. I'm sorry, man. Teams is down.
Wait,
didn't get it?
Yeah, you should have just carried that through the rest of the day too. Like, oh no,
Yeah.
they're writing to you on Teams and you're replying to them on Teams. Go, no, Teams is still down. Sorry, can't do anything about it. Sorry.
She went around and sent me an email and said, I'm like, fuck, I didn't reply to this one.
Yeah.
That was no good. It was an interesting meeting where I was basically my boss's boss was asking me what I should what they should do, and I'm like, why are you asking me? I've got no fucking authority here, but
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you anyway. No, just no. Fucking no.
No.
So- But it was just kind of like the mentality of like, well, hopefully she doesn't ask me again. Like trying to set up future precedent.
Yeah.
like, look, you're not going to get anything out of me, so this is good. Like, we're going to nip this in the bud now. We're going to nip it in the bud early.
It's
and know
nice.
that
It's nice when upper management asks your view on something because they obviously respect you, what you do, and your perspective from where you are in the business. But at the same time, a part of you also doesn't want to take responsibility for anything either. So you're kind of like, well, if this is a really big decision, I don't really want to have any say in it because you feel like they might be hanging me out to dry here,
No,
if it goes tits up, it's my name on the fucking ticket.
No, it was an interesting dynamic because it was basically asking me a question that my boss had already asked me. And I'd said, tell him no. And she's like, all right, I'll tell him no. So she told him no. And then they asked me, what do you think? And I'm like, no.
No.
So
Just
it became
no.
full circle. So it was like my original message went to my boss. My boss sent that message to this boss. This boss then came back to me. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, what I told my boss. Why are we doing this circle again? Like, I feel like it's a very vicious circle.
It's amazing how many of these little email circles happen, isn't it? Because, it's constant palming off, Greeno. They're like, no, got to send it to this department. No, it's got to go to that department. This email's been through 7 inboxes by the time it gets to you.
It was 20 minutes of my day I could have got back. You know what I mean? Where, we'd already everything I said as to why I said no were already laid out in my boss's email because I said, look, tell him X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
So she wrote him going, it's no for X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And she emailed that, and then that boss emailed this boss, and then this boss asked me, what do you think? And I just told him X, Y, and Z. And she's like, okay, well, that sounds about right. I'm like, well, you should have fucking read the first email. Let's say 20 minutes here.
Nice, Gary!
Anyway, sorry.
Makes you pray for a Teams outage, doesn't it?
Mate, it was team that was great yesterday. I didn't reply to anyone.
Yeah.
Also had someone message me this afternoon, late in the arvo, like 3:30 on a Friday. You know my rule, mate. 4 o'clock, I'm out.
Yep.
But Friday arvo, you might as well pretend I'm not there because I'm not. Like I'm there, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'll do the pointless paper shuffling shit, but I don't want to do anything serious. So he's like, mate, I've got a serious issue. Do you want to deal with it Friday arvo or Monday morning? I'm like, well, what do you think?
Obviously, no, I want to do it now, mate.
I said Monday morning, mate. Don't fucking or ask someone else.
Yeah, that's always an option.
Yeah, the crazy notion. Don't ask me. My answer is going to be don't bug me on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I live with the professionalism that I do in my job.
I've got a little story time for you, Graham.
I like stories about pinatas.
You know how you can have these passive-aggressive relationships via email with people in different organizations?
Oh, boy, do I ever.
And you both know that you're both engaging in this passive-aggressive activity, but it's kind of it's almost chivalrous. You know how like two knights jousting would have to be fair. They both have to have the same joust, and they've got to be on equal terms, Greeno. So it's a fair fight, you know what I mean? And everyone kind of plays by the passive-aggressive email rules. Like, you don't go too far, but you are trying to constantly needle and undermine in the most pleasurable way possible, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right? So I've had this relationship with one of these people for, I don't know, going on 6 months now. And it started off poorly for them because they were very rude to me up front. And you know what I'm like? It's very like I'm a very easygoing person. Like, you can pretty much say and do whatever. But it's like if you're unnecessary, like if you try to big dick me, for example, you know, and just kind of like throw. So like I had this thing where someone from another company is kind of trying to tell me what to do, and that's how our relationship started. And unfortunately I had to, in the most polite way, put them in their place and basically like say, look, this isn't my thing. This is your contract. So, you know, in the nicest possible way, I basically said, you're an idiot because you're asking me to argue your contract for you, which is, you know, pretty unprofessional, right? Like, considering we're from a different company. And right. And since then it's been very cold and sweaty and what have you. And we had this situation today where there was a time limit set. There was a deadline. Let's just say the deadline is like 2:00 in the afternoon, right? This particular thing, this document must be in place by 2:00 in the afternoon. And we had been chasing this guy for like a day and a half for this document. And he was fully aware that like the cutoff was at 2 p.m. I get an email at 1:55 p.m. Greeno.
Nice, Gary!
1:55. Now we still have to take this thing to somebody else and have it cleared and then get something else and then go back to make this 2 p.m. It's not like you hand me the thing and it's done. You know what I mean? Like, no, now we can do the work, right? 1:55. I end up getting this thing out and done 5 minutes past 2, right? 10 minutes.
Nice.
10 minutes. And I reply to this guy and I'm like, hi, unfortunately we are 5 minutes past your deadline. So can you please, you know, confirm if this is all okay? And a smiley face.
Nice, Gary!
Like these passive aggressive. So, but I ended up winning, right? Because I'm like, this guy's clearly trying to fuck me here. And
you've done your job. That's the important thing. Like, you've still done what you need to do to get it across the line.
That's right. And so we won the day in the end, even though it was 5. He could take the attitude, right? If we miss this deadline, he can say, well, I sent it to you before 2. You know what I mean? So I could see it being set up that way. You know what I mean? I could sense it coming. So we got it done at 5 past, and we were allowed in, you know, past the cutoff basically. And, you know, not a single word. And I thought I just chalked it up. Another passive aggressive email victory, Greeno.
I like stories about pinatas.
Where are we up to? We got Cameron Smith. Fucking nice, Gary. To Cameron Smith, the latest
Nice,
PGA Tour winner.
Gary!
Well, not PGA Tour winner, fucking a major winner for
Major winner,
Australia.
that's right. British Open, baby. St. Andrews, the home of golf. My favourite course to watch because it's so nuts.
150th Open Championship as well.
And he won it. And the 150th running of the world's most famous and oldest golf tournament at the, like, what people call the home of golf, like the first golf course. And it was won by this guy with this mullet. He looks like he looks like he's lining up to see a Rose Tattoo fucking cover band at Rudy Hill RSL on a Thursday, Greeno.
It's the kind of guy I'm going to dodge because I reckon he's going to like hit me up for a smoke. I'm like,
hey bro, you got a fucking durry, bro.
help me out, man. Help me out.
Yeah.
Just need one.
Yeah, mate. Fucking blew all me play in the fucking pokies, mate. You got a sickie, bruz? You got a sickie, bruh? I reckon this guy, if he puts his mind to it and he works really hard and he aims really high, Greeno, he could have a future imitating the great John Daly one day, I think.
He could, yeah, big Long John.
You know who he reminds me of? Cam Smith, this golfer who won the tournament. He reminds me of the lead singer of that fucking band that sings, we're on Smoko, so leave me alone, we're on Smoko. Remember that? Do you remember that fucking band?
I know that band. The Chats, isn't it?
The Chats, that's it. Nice, Gary.
Nice, Gary!
He looks like the lead singer of the Chats. I'm on
does.
Smoko.
Smoko. But well done him. 8 under in the final round to
Ridiculous,
get
man.
a 1-stroke victory against Cameron Young, I think, who eagled on the last or second last. No,
yeah.
It was eagled on the last to make it a 1-stroke game. So he had to sink a putt from about 4 foot to keep that lead. Rory, who missed about 6 putts by the equivalent across those 6 putts, he was maybe 4 inches off winning the tournament. Like every putt just missed the cup, and he had 6 or 7 of them that would have been the difference, but didn't.
And that's what it takes, you know.
In the back line too in the final day of the tournament.
That's what makes and breaks these big tournaments. It's all about the fucking inches, you know what I mean? It's all about those millimeters. And people were bagging Rory McIlroy out just because of the nature of the way it finished. People were bagging him out, saying he choked. He still shot like 2 or 3 under. He still had a good round, you know.
He finished 18 under for the
I
tournament.
know. He played a really good tournament. It's just that Cam Smith was possessed on the back 9 or whatever.
Cameron Smith had the greatest round of golf
that's ever happened.
The final rounds ever happened. He finished 20 under for the tournament, which I think is the equal lowest or the lowest ever at that course in the British Open. It took history to beat Rory. Rory's been in amazing form.
Oh yeah, because it's not uncommon at the British Open for the best. I remember distinctly Tiger Woods there winning it once with like 1 under. And everyone else was like 3 over, 4 over. Because if the wind kicks, if you happen to get it on a windy weekend, it's fucking ridiculous. You can't play because it's just it's basically St. Andrews is not like the courses you have in the United States with like manicured and tree lines down the sides of the fairways, and it's all very kind of in front of you. It's just an open field, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just completely at the whim of the elements. There's nothing blocking the wind or anything. There's nothing. It's just an open field. You wouldn't even know where you're fucking hitting it half the time. You know, there's all these little hills and undulations on every fairway, so the ball's rolling in fucking any direction it wants to half of the time. It's a really difficult course, you know. To hit 20 under on it, that's insane. But it must have been perfect golf conditions.
It was. Like, there were so many people that far under par. It wasn't funny. So it was just the perfect time for golf. But I saw this stat this year. This is how good Rory McIlroy plays this year. In majors, he has defeated 97% of the competition across all majors.
Wow.
Yet he didn't win one of the majors.
Well, there you go. Like, that's just
been
a freakish year.
There or thereabouts. He's playing great golf. He's been there or thereabouts in the PGA Tour as well. But just like he shoots 18 under and the winner's 20 under.
He shoots 18 under and finishes 3rd.
He finished 3rd because some dude hit a fucking eagle on the last. Asked it. Like, should have been 2nd, but unlucky. But congratulations to the latest Australian. Who was the last one? Would have been at Jason Day, wouldn't it?
Jason
last major winner?
Day, yeah. Either him or Smith, wouldn't it be?
No, Smith hasn't won a major before.
No, not Smith. Pardon me.
Scott.
Adam Scott. Yeah.
No, Jason Day is the last one compared to Scotty. Right. Scotty hasn't won it since 2012, 2013.
Right.
That's moving on the Masters, I think, was Scott's last major. I know Leishman. I think Leishman may have had one after that, perhaps.
That's true.
But I think Jason Day was the most recent.
He won the US PGA.
US Open.
US Open.
Yeah, spot on. So, yeah, congratulations there to Cam Smith. And then in the press conference after, the questions were, are you going to go to the Saudi Rebel Tour? And it's like, and credit to him. He's just like, mate, you seriously asking me that question? I just won the fucking British Open, eh? Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. They're journalists. They don't know what they're doing. They're hyenas.
Yeah.
I want to give a nice Gary Greeno. You sent this through. VJ Singh. I don't know where VJ would have played because he plays in every major because he's invited to all of them. But I don't know if he made the cut or not. VJ hasn't. He's one of those guys who, like, every 3 or 4 years, he gets really high up on a card on the last day and he might win it, you know, but his best days are well behind him. He tweeted this out, thinking of growing a mullet now. just fucking
nice, Gary!
Fantastic.
Doesn't he look good?
He does.
He looks good in a mullet, VJ.
It really does suit him.
Like, I'd love to see him rock up. Yeah, Long John Daly style.
Yeah.
Big fat blonde mullet. Durry out of the mouth.
Yep.
Cans of Diet Coke because you got to, health first.
Yeah. Body's your temple.
Body's your temple. Quick dick move / story time.
I like stories about pinatas.
Matty Johns does this like face-to-face show, and sometimes he has like semi-interesting guests.
Okay. So
it was
he
Roy
wants to be
Masters.
the new Andrew Denton or something, doesn't he?
Sorta, yeah. Like it was Roy Masters, like that old West Tigers coach sort of thing.
Oh, famous Roy Masters, football
yeah,
caller, columnist as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, but it was right after many years with Sydney Morning Herald after he stopped doing coaching.
He was basically Mr. Football in like 60s and the 70s and the 80s, wasn't he? Roy
Yeah,
Masters.
he certainly was. Yeah, like those West Tigers teams of the 80s that you
Tommy
remember, like, Tommy
Radonicus.
Radonicus and all that kind of stuff, like the slapping in the face. He was the coach at the time.
Yeah.
So there was an interview with him, and I thought, oh, look, I'd be interested to see kind of like, Roy Masters talk about it, blah, blah, blah. So, quick answer to your question. Tied 79th, VJ Singh.
VJ Singh, there you go. So he did make the cut, though.
Actually, no, sorry. VJ Singh British Open. Oh, no, this is a fucking different course. Sorry, my apologies. That's the seniors tour. He's tied 79th.
Oh, so he didn't play in the Open then?
He didn't play. No, he was in the seniors tour.
Okay,
So there you go. But he's 1 over after 14 at the moment.
Oof. Okay.
In the seniors tour, in the PGA Centenary course. There you go. So what's that? Now, here's the thing with and the issue I have with most kind of like footy shows in general. They like we talked about before, Aussie, Buffy, Blokey, Larrikin, Aussie, matey, blah, blah, blah.
Footy, Barbie, pissing the carby, mate.
Yeah, spot on. So the start of the interview talks about like Roy as a kid and kind of like his early days and what he did as he was going through high school and that. And Roy at that time was like, he had nothing to do with footy. He wasn't a good footy player. He wasn't involved in footy, but he went and became a school teacher.
Right.
So they were telling that story. I was a school teacher, blah, blah, blah. And then it went from that to, do you remember having beers in the pub with the boys?
Nice, Gary!
And it's like, what?
Because
What are
Matty
we
Johns
talking
has
about?
one gear. Doesn't he?
Yeah. And I'm like, they'll go back to like this gap, right? And it's like, tell us about Tommy, will ya? Like, did Tommy like a drink? And I'm like, well,
Go back to the drink again.
it went on, and everything was about the drink. for like
Everything's
20 minutes.
about how much piss did he sink.
And then I realized, because then they started talking about the future, and like then he went to St. George and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so you had an interview with this guy. You failed to talk about how the fact he went from a school teacher to being the head coach of the West Tigers and premiership contenders in the space of like 10 years. We're just going to ignore all that, but we know how many schooners Tommy had at the pub. He used to love to have a couple of schooners that were going
Nice,
to
Gary!
Worst fucking interview I've ever seen.
That's so true. It reminds me of, Robert Craddock, the cricket writer. He once said about Bart Cummings, right? And this was very controversial at the time. He goes, I think that Bart Cummings is a very funny guy, but that people make him more funny than he actually is. And they were like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, because he's got this reputation as being such a funny guy, Bart Cummings, he can just say anything and people around him will go, mate, And it was so controversial back in the time because everyone was like, oh, you can't credit. Remember when Bart Cummings was basically like the Pope?
Yeah.
Remember? Like he was just like, you couldn't question him. Like everything was perfect. He was the best. Everybody loved him. And Robert Craddock was the only one to say, yeah, he's pretty funny, but he's not that funny.
Not really that funny, yeah.
And it's the same ththing with like Tommy Radonicus, right?
Yeah.
And, these kind of characters from the 80s and footy is like, oh, yeah, how much piss did they sink? It would just, you'd be thinking to yourself, wow, they were just on the booze all the time, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't even play football. They were too drunk all the time. We do the same thing with the cricketers as well when we look back.
Yeah.
But they weren't drinking all the time.
No. That's what celebrating.
He used to be sober on Sunday half of the time, at least. So it wasn't that.
But once again, it lacked any kind of point to an interview.
Right.
That's kind of like, well, I still have no idea how the guy went from being a high school teacher to being a footy coach because you just failed to ask any of that. You just talked about schooners at the pub.
Schooners at the pub with the boys.
The boys. You loved to drink, did you? You loved Tommy. Tommy, you loved to drink. Fucking, didn't he?
Greeno, speaking of journalism.
Buffy.
Buffy, blokey, footy, piss in the carby. Speaking of journalists, Greeno, you sent this through. You're going to have to give me a bit of context in this from the Irish Daily Mirror. Michael Schumacher's family blasted for lies over F1 legend's condition after skiing accident. Are they protecting the image of their vegetabilized family member? Are they? How awful.
Yeah, apparently.
Fucking nice, Gary.
Nice,
The Daily Mirror outraged.
Who's outraged?
The Daily Mirror.
The Irish Daily Mirror. Like, who gives a fuck, eh? It's not even the Daily Mirror. It's the Irish Daily Mirror.
Because the public deserve to know. They deserve to know every intricate detail. Can he piss for himself? Can he feed himself? Is he flaccid? What's going on? Is he farted? What's going on? What do his toenails look like? We need to know every single aspect of every single thing.
Did you say is he flaccid?
I did. We need to know these details, Damo, because otherwise it's a lie. This is fucking scumbag behavior. This family,
that's why I love the British tabloids, to be honest with you, because they are so trashy. They're so scummy.
Horrible. This family, for the most part, the media has been pretty respectful of the fact that, Michael Schumacher,
he's a vegetable. He can't talk or anything. He just lies in a bed.
He lies in the bed and he's basically sitting there, and that is fine. But no one, everyone's kind of tried to show a bit of respect to the family until this, and I was just like, the Daily Mirror can go and get fucked because
you have to the Irish Daily Mirror, because there's a Daily Mirror and then there's the Irish Daily Mirror. And I would put it to you. You said before, the public needs to know. The public that reads the Irish Daily Mirror is only drunks who pick it up in a train, in Dublin. Greeno. They're the ones who pick. Oh, look, I got the Mirror, free fucking newspaper, a free blanket while you ride the train. You know what I mean? That's who reads the Irish Daily Mirror. No one else gives a fuck.
Fucking disgusting. This poor guy and his family have suffered for a better part of it, 15 years now, if not longer.
Oh, longer than that. It's got to be near 25 at least, doesn't it? No, wait, he was still driving in
No, that's what I mean.
04, 05. Yeah, you're probably right.
Probably about 15 years, but at the same time, they're dealing with their father is no longer there. In reality,
no.
They're going to deal with that shit. Fucking disgusting, dick move.
He was, and I hate stories like this too because a quick little story time.
I like stories about pinatas.
I'm not going to fucking buy in a clickbait.
Yeah,
I screenshotted the
screenshot. Nice
the
call.
Yeah.
I watched the other day, Green. I never seen it before. $1 Million Baby. Have you ever seen that movie?
I was talking last week about how I was trying to watch certain movies. I feel like I should watch. That one is on my list.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't spoil it then. But then you'll now I can't really say what I was going to say.
Don't tell it then. No, because you're going to spoil the movie. I need to know. I don't need to know.
No, you don't need to know. But it's I hate these kinds. I hate these kinds of stories. You know what I mean? So that's all I'll say.
I'll watch it this week so you can talk about it next week.
All right.
We're talking about that.
Staying on Formula One. Why don't we stick to Formula One? Toto Wolff, Greeno, who's the boss of Mercedes. I love Germans sometimes because, my mum's German. They just have such balls. You know what I mean? To just say the darndest things.
Yeah.
Toto Wolff says Red Bull and Ferrari dominance could bore fans.
Nice, Gary!
What a fucking prick. Honestly.
So for our US listeners who don't understand much about F1, the Mercedes team have basically made F1 a non-event for the better part of the last decade.
6 years, 7 years, yep.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I really watched F1 before the last couple of years. It was all just Mercedes.
And it was worse than the Ferrari Schumacher years.
Oh, 100%.
Because the Schumacher years had Mika Hakkinen and the Williams were good. There was a bunch of cars.
Yeah, 100%. Plenty of good racing out there. Just Schumacher was too good. But
every now and then, like an Heinz Harold Frentzen would pop up and get a podium in a Jordan or something. It would happen.
Where did Heinz Harold come from? That's fucking pretty good. Well done. Is it raining? No. Heinz is just up there.
Fernando Alonso was fucking flinging that Renault around sideways, around corners. It was okay.
It was good. It was good racing. Yep. But Mercedes ruined the sport to the point where me and you were fucking fanatical F1 fans.
Yep.
Hence the term fan. But for years and years and years since we were kids. And then Mercedes just ruined it for us to the point where me and you didn't watch F1 for 8-9 years?
Oh, no, not that much. We would dip in and out. But I would say overall, I would say there's definitely like a 4-year chunk there where I just didn't pay any attention whatsoever.
Mercedes was just dominating.
Yeah.
Hamilton won every year, and it was either him and his teammate who won the championship no matter what.
We used to do a huge Formula One segment when we were actually doing a quote unquote actual radio show about sports, right? We would do a big, huge Formula One segment. But I remember even back then, it started getting to the point where, okay, so here's the Formula One segment this week. Did Hamilton win again? Yeah, okay, whatever, and then we could talk about something else. Like didn't even want to know what happened in the race. Hamilton won again.
Move on. Yeah, so bored us to death. But this is the first year that Mercedes. Don't get me wrong, they're still actually semi-competitive. They're just not fighting for the championship.
They're third in the Constructors' Championship by only like 30 points or something. George Russell's finished all but one race in the top 5. They're competitive.
Yeah, correct. And then Toto has the audacity, the farce, to say this shit. Where it's like, I think people would get bored by that. No, man, this has been great. Like, I know realistically, Verstappen and the Red Bull this year way quicker overall than the Ferrari, but at least the Ferrari is competitive and like Charles. If Charles didn't have like
engine failure, mechanical failures,
if we had no DNFs, right?
Yeah.
Max probably finishes the first 2 races and finishes 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another couple of races where Charles probably wins those 2 races as well.
Oh, 3. I reckon at least 3 where he was in a commanding position and the car just blew up.
So I think overall, like we've finally got a little bit of parity between Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari and Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Like those cars are pretty much like for like. This is the first year in forever. Like I know last year was a close championship, but there was a lot of DNS, a lot of fucking around. This is just wheel to wheel racing and like genuine pace of both cars. It's genuinely exciting. And Toto has the audacity to go back like, oh, we'll be bored by this. No, man, I'm watching every race this year, bro. Like,
the
exciting stuff.
The actual quote, Greeno, is even worse. It's races have less entertainment because there's too much performance gap between teams. That's your job, though. That's not our fault. That's your job, Toto.
That's your job.
And Toto's been going around, this fucking prick, this lanky German prick, he's been going around the formula. He wants everybody else to have to change their cars to make his better, believe it or not. Like, they've actually been lobbying Formula One. Well, maybe we should make the other cars slower. It's like, no, mate. That's not the way it fucking works. Have a look at this reply, by the way, Greeno, because we're about to debut a new segment on the show. It's very exciting. But before we do, I want to show you this reply. The top reply here under this story, some fucking pillock. I speak for everyone when I say we want Mercedes dominance back.
No. You dick.
And
I guarantee that guy's got 3 followers.
He might do, but he's getting nicely ratioed anyway. That's the main thing.
Quality ratio. But to Toto's point, though, literally the last race was the best F1 race I've seen.
Yeah, it was good.
In the better part of a decade. Like, overtake Central.
The Haas is Greeno. The Haas!
The Haas!
It's a Haas!
That last race, so you went back and watched the replay. I didn't want to do any spoilers, but like for some reason I was up that night and I just watched the whole race. I must have been actually no, that's when I was crook. So like I was like,
the next day I was like 6 laps to go. This is some of the best racing I've seen for years in Formula One. That kind of 3 or 4 lap chunk. There was 3 of them going at each other.
No, I'm talking about the race after that.
Ah, right. Yep.
Yeah, the race, that race was solid as well. And that's kind of further to our point of like the last couple of races, the whole season's been amazing. But literally the last race, the one at Red Bull Ring.
Yes.
Was like from lap 1 to lap 76 or whatever it was, there was fucking overtakes all through the field. You didn't know who was going to finish top 10. You didn't know who was going to win the race. You didn't know who was going to finish on the podium. And then fucking Sainz's engine blew, and you're like, fuck, is Leclerc's gonna get to the end? And then he's complaining about his pedal. You're like, what do you mean the fucking pedal's got? I can't feel the brake. What do you mean you can't feel the fucking brake? It was all over the shop. Most exciting racing, but Toto apparently very boring.
And I'm so glad that Formula One's back at that circuit. Like the Formula One 2021, I've got the wheels set up and the pedals and everything here. Right?
Yeah.
That track is by far the most fun to drive in the game. I don't know, it just feels fast, you know what I mean? And you feel like you're always in it too. Like I know watching the race. Yeah, DRS and all that. It's actually more fun in the Formula 2 in the game because the Formula 2 have like
You know?
they're a little bit slower, but they have like it's more raw. Like they don't have all the traction control and all the whiz bang that the Formula Ones do. So it's a little bit more go-karty, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is the most fun track to race in that game. And you just always feel like you're in it. You always feel like, oh, you're right on the back of someone. You always feel like you can get them because it's just such a fast, flowy, and it feels like it's over in a second. You know, it's very exciting. But then when you watch real life, they were saying, oh, well, there's not that many overtakes here and it's hard to overtake. And it was like, well, hang on a minute. They were going nuts. They were having a fucking ball out there, I reckon.
Yeah, I watched the F2 race as well because it was like
so much fun, the F2s.
As well. That thing was a circus. I was disappointed because I was pumped because like Jack Dillon was pretty high up.
Yep.
And then Callum, I can't remember the dude's surname. Is it Callum Williams? The other Aussie in the field.
Yeah.
He was about 10th or 11th at the starting grid. And then they had the wrong tyre strategy. So the two Aussies ended up at the back of the field after the first pit stop. But the racing itself was sensational. I'm like, oh, this F2 is pretty good. I got to watch a bit more of this. And then the F1 lived up to that as well. So, yeah, no, it was definitely when I was sick because I was laying in bed and I'd been sleeping all day. So I'm like, why the hell was I up to 1 in the morning? I feel kind of sorry for the kid who won it last year. Is it Oscar Pistorius or what's that? Pistori? Pistorius? Nah, because who's the South African dude that killed his wife?
Oh, no.
Pistori. That's also Pistori.
Is it?
I think it's Pistorius.
It's something similar to that anyway. He won the Formula 2 championship last year, and, you know, hooray, his prize is this year he gets to be a reserve/test driver for
Oscar
one of the
Piastri,
thank you.
Yeah.
So his prize for winning the Formula 2 championship last year was he gets to be a test/reserve driver for a Formula 1 team, right? Alpine. But that's actually, I don't know if I would want that prize because he basically misses out on a competitive drive now. And all the people he beat in Formula 2 last year are now, you know, out there impressing people, making sponsors, racing, they're keeping their eye in, and he's kind of sitting on the sidelines, you know what I mean? That's a shitty prize, I reckon. I don't know if I'd like to do that.
Well, I think there's whispers that he'll get a drive with Williams, I think it is, by the end of the year.
Who are they going to kick out? Latifi.
Yeah, Latifi, because Alpine and Williams have a good relationship.
So they're going to loan him out.
Yeah, they're kind of like, we'll loan him out because, like, this guy, they're basically setting up Oscar to be Fernando's replacement when he retires. But Fernando's probably got another year in him, but they want him to get more track time. So they might do a loan deal to go, hey, go drive for Williams, get some experience in F1 races.
Williams would be all over that as long as they pay his salary or at least half of it.
Which they do. So, like, we've seen that happen before. There's been a couple of loan deals, whether it be Williams to Mercedes and stuff, or like Williams would just take anyone's cash. They will, like, man, you want to fucking take it? Go for it. Go nuts. So,
well, I mean, they let. I was about to say they let Nicholas Latifi in there, but then I thought, well, he's not even as bad as Lance Stroll. Now that is the perfect example of somebody buying a drive in Formula One. Lance fucking Stroll. Lance Stroll is the most useless driver who's ever sat in a Formula One car. He's fucking useless as tits on a bull.
We pointed out, you were talking about the chat, I think it was you that said it, but you've read my mind, Cerebral, where it was like, at least Takuma Sato was for entertaining while he was crashing.
Oh,
but Stroll is just boring while he crashes.
I know. I think what I said about Sato is at least he was fast.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He was fast and reckless. Lance Stroll is slow and reckless. Like, that's no good to anybody. That's terrible. Those are the two worst things. If you're going to be reckless, you have to at least be fast. Like, I always think of Kevin Schwantz, Greeno. He's my mental go-to when I think fast but reckless. Now, he was the perfect epitomization of that concept. He would either win it or crash. Those were the only two options, you know what I mean? And that was Takuma Sato. He would either be brilliant or he would crash trying. Because he only had one way, and that was to go 110% all the fucking time.
Exactly.
And he'd take people out left, right, and center. And I forget which driver it was. It was maybe like a Minardi driver or something. Remember when he took out like 4 or 5 people on one corner, Takuma Sato? And they were interviewing him back in pit lane, and he's like, in a weird accent, he's like, I don't know what they are thinking. We have a madman out on the track.
Nice, Gary!
Some fucking German guy at the back of the field.
I think that
They need to look
Vettel.
into this because they have a madman out there.
I think it was Vettel.
Might have been Vettel, actually. Oh,
So good.
yeah.
But he
I missed
was.
the
He was a
Kumasato.
fucking lunatic. If he was a lunatic, he's like, hey, is Sumi going to crash tonight? Yes, he is.
Of course he is. It was a
but at least
safe bet.
At least he's entertaining in doing it. That was the difference. Stroll is just fucking horrible.
It's useless.
But surprisingly enough, he's finished the last 4 races since
I
we
know.
started betting on him to not.
Yeah. What? Again, he's just a galactic prick. He crashes out of every single fucking race, and we're like, all right, we're going to start making money off this tit because he's reliable. He's always going to put it in a wall, and then he just trundles around, comes last every race or thereabouts. You know, he's running at the back. He's irrelevant. But he's finishing now just to spite us.
Just to spite us and fucking take $5 out of us. It was no good. What do we have to?
I want to do this one, Greeno. So we're doing a new segment. Just so happens to, it's not about Formula One, but on this occasion, it's Formula One related. We're unveiling a new segment here on the show tonight. It's called Out of Context Twitter Replies, and I thought you'd appreciate this. So, pardon me. Bloomberg tweeted this out. F1 has always had a hard time finding a large US fan base, but it's finally found the secret. Americanazzi, I guess they're talking about Italians, right? Italian Ferrari fans, maybe. So apparently that's the secret for Formula One to get into America. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I found this reply, and it says, classified military documents. You will realize that the Chinese Communist Party is extremely evil to the extent that they hide their military facilities in downtown areas, kindergartens, schools, nursing homes, hospitals, and civilian residences. So the CCP uses the Chinese people as its shield. And I just thought, okay, there's a time and a place, though, isn't there?
I think that's Toto's
Toto sexing it up.
burner account.
Yeah, Toto is doing the Mark Levy's out here.
Yeah,
Toto
he's doing
Wolff.
Mark Levy. She's like trying to distract. They're like, big win for Red Bull and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And he's like, no, Chinese
Chinese Communist Party is need to be stopped.
We need to stop the parties. And, we need to slow down the Ferraris. And
Is Toto Kimi Räikkönen now?
he's getting a little bit.
He's
Yeah,
getting
I can't do a good German.
No.
It's no good. Now
This is ridiculous. We need to do something. There's a madman out there on the track.
If I think of German accents, I think of like Sergeant Stuhl. I know nothing.
I know nothing.
That's all I got. I'm like, it's like South African. All I got is a diplomatic community.
I can do a South African accent, but I can only do it whilst saying South Africa.
South Africa and diplomatic community. That's it. They're the
Diplomatic community. A garage is where you park your car.
car, exactly. Hansi. John.
There's a gorilla on the table. Let's go. The word around the campfire is, if you're a betting man.
Very good.
I know there might be a few people out there who might be tempted by the devil and have a little something on Ricky Ponting to get the double ton here today.
Hey, give me a minute. No, John.
Hello, John. 200 on Ponting.
Now that joke, all that joke is going completely over the head of all of our American listeners. But it doesn't matter because no one's listening. Wish I was dead story, sir.
Yes, I wish I was dead. Again, another just very Formula One heavy show this week, but I thought we'd add this into the Formula One employees wish they were dead file that we've been collecting since our trip to the Australian Grand Prix all those years ago. Got ourselves another one here. F1 worker suffered racist and homophobic abuse while at Aston Martin, Greeno.
Nice, Gary!
Aidan Lowe claims he was subjected to racist and homophobic abuse. Aston Martin say his complaints were immediately acted upon and appropriate sanctions were imposed. And then there's a warning here, Greta. This article may be upsetting, offensive, and triggering to some readers. And I thought, well, I'll have me some of fucking that. Thank you very much.
Better find out.
Better find out what's so upsetting. A Formula One worker who was repeatedly racially abused by colleagues at the Aston Martin F1 team has told Sky News the sport has to do more to confront racism in motorsport. Aren't they doing enough?
Nice, Gary!
I've seen 700 Black Lives Matter shirts. I've seen Lewis Hamilton wear it.
I remember a couple of years ago, I'm going to say, and I was working nights and I was very excited because it was like, you know what, Greeno, I'm getting back into Formula One this year. Do you remember that?
This, yep.
And I thought, I'm going to get back into Formula One. It's been a few years, but they're bringing in new rules and all that kind of stuff. So I want to get into it before the new rules come in so I can find my feet again, you know, see where everything's at. And the first race I tuned into live, it was obviously like 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I thought, you know what? I haven't watched any pre-race wank for years, and I do love I do love to watch, you know, Martin Brundle walking up and down the pit lane, talking to people and getting in people's way, and Crofty out there, Greeno, you know, Crofty's Corner or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
And he gets out there and talks about. I thought I'm going to enjoy this. This is really good. I'll settle in, get a bag of chips, Greeno, and I'm going to watch the Formula One pre-race wank. And it was legitimately an hour and a half of some mindless fucking twit woman walking around asking everybody, driver, team owner, sponsor, other hosts, what do you think Formula One can do to solve racism?
Nice, Gary!
Hey, hi, Sebastian. You were pretty fast this weekend. Yeah, we're pretty fast. We have, a good car. We are looking forward to some improvements coming very soon, but, we give our best account of ourselves here. That's great. And what do you think about racism? What do you should F1 be doing more to fix racism? It was every single question. It was about what are we going to do about racism? How can we fix racism? How can we stop racism? And then I say this story, F1 needs to do more. No, you're doing more than enough. You are doing enough fixing racism. Aidan Lau, 25, who is mixed race and born in South Africa, worked as a laminator, building parts of the cars driven by Sebastian Vettel. Well, again, he's a laminator. He's not building the parts, right? No. The parts are built. He's basically putting the stickers on it.
Nice, Gary!
This guy it's like when you bring home your books like to mum,
yes,
and she put the contact on.
That's right. She put the clear cover on the book so it doesn't get dirty. That's what he does to the parts of the Formula
You
One.
write your name, you do all the work, rule all the margins, but mum would sit there and go, okay, I'll put the contact on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what this is the equivalent of this dude's position inside the team.
Correct. Now, I have two issues with this. The other issue is this one, Greeno. Building parts of the cars driven by Sebastian Vettel at the, quote, prestigious F1 team's base next to Silverstone. I don't know. I don't think.
Dick!
No.
Was it Seb doing the racist and homophobic stuff to him? Or are they just trying to talk about how, are they trying to like imply and just put his name into it, where it was probably just some dickhead in the cafeteria who's like, hey, Puff, what's going on? Something like that.
Well, I mean, clearly the journalist has no idea what they're talking about, first of all, because they say Aston Martin is a prestigious team. That's the team that Lance Stroll drives for.
Yeah,
so they can't be.
It was bought by a rich Canadian dickhead.
Yes. To give his son a job.
Yeah.
It was like a Roman fucking emperor gifting the throne to his heir. It's like, well, I'm going to buy the country so you can rule it for us.
Who's your favorite Aston Martin F1 champion? No one. There's no prestigious.
Oh, fucking Lance Stroll, mate. The verbal abuse started after he joined the team as a supplier's agency contractor this February. So he's not actually in the team.
He's a subcontractor.
Nice, Gary!
So he's not actually in the team. He's not in the Aston Martin Formula One
team.
team.
He didn't have a pit pass. He had to sign in.
No.
Someone had to sign him in. Like, hey, man, fucking the contractor's here again. Jim, can you come down and sign this bloke in? Oh, all right, I'll come
sign this bloke. He's not going to the races. He's not going, on the road with the team. He's somewhere else putting stickers on car parts.
He works for the laminating company and rocks up on a Tuesday
to drop off the stickers to the team.
And someone else is going to do the work. Anyway.
Before I even walked into my working environment, that's when I was told, look, if you've got a problem with how we speak here, it's just how we speak. Very offensive, Greg.
Nice, Gary!
Very offensive. Mr. Lau claims the abuse then started almost immediately with multiple offensive racist nicknames. Greeno, look,
what are they? You got to name them.
Well, that would be handy, but don't you think, like, we both now work in this kind of office corporate environment. Now, these Formula One teams are very, very, very rich corporate office environments, right?
Yeah.
They have they're quote unquote mechanics. Like the guys you see changing the tires during the race, that's it. That's their, those are the grease monkeys. But those grease monkeys still have fucking diplomas from MIT. You know,
and on about $250,000 a year.
Right? They're still geniuses, right? Do you know how? Do you really think in today's world of like social media and corporate environments and all that stuff? What, you think this guy's going to walk in there and they're just going to start slagging him off and calling him the N-word and shit? Do you think that really happens?
Bathurst 1000 V8 supercars, man. Like, this is a multi-billion-dollar organization. But you're right. Like, the people that are changing tires are the best in the industry. They can change a tire in 2.6 seconds. Surely, when they're interviewing for that, there's some kind of character questions, not just like, don't get me wrong, they want the guy who can change a tire in 2.8 seconds, but they're not just going to let any fucking Joe Schmo rock up like, yeah, fucking niggas and faggots. There's no fucking Eddie Murphy.
There's no Eddie Murphy language, yeah.
Rock it up.
You can't have it. Like, you won't have it. You can't have it. No.
That shit ain't flying at the interview, even he can change a tire in 2.8 seconds, because there's another dude who can change a tire in 2.8 seconds as well. They're going to go the dude who doesn't walk around and go, niggas, niggas, faggots. That's how it works. That's how life works.
And I mean, do you think any team boss would let this kind of behaviour go on with that airhead woman walking around in pit lane asking everybody if they're fighting racism hard enough?
What do you think about racism?
We're lucky Mr. Lau didn't go on the road trips. Before I even walked in, I was told, you got a problem. Mr. Lau claims the abuse started almost immediately with multiple offensive racist nicknames. I wasn't referred to as 80 or anything like that. I was called, quote, racially offensive slurs. That's what I was called to. So he's saying that they didn't even call him by his name. They would just call him by the racially offensive slurs. I disclosed to someone that I had a boyfriend in my teen years, and that was it. In that split second, everything switched. As soon as they found out about that sliver of information, that was it. They were trying to claw me down, to break me down as a man, as an individual, and as a human, Greeno. While Formula One has very publicly demanded an end to racism, nauseatingly repetitively too, I might add, within the sport, this season, Sir Lewis, oh God, I forgot that he's been knighted. Oh, God.
You dick!
Sir Lewis. Look, I'm not calling him Sir. I don't care. You're going to have to storm my castle with your Bastille, my lord, in order to get me to recognize you. This Queen's servant will not recognize this lordship, I'm afraid. Lewis Hamilton has been forced to continue calling out incidents of discrimination. He's been forced to. I'm sure he hates it, right?
Nice.
I'm sure Lewis Hamilton hates calling out racism, doesn't he? Like, there's nothing that he wouldn't want to do less.
Did we do a segment on the show where we realised that Lewis was caught out in a racism scandal?
Yeah.
Or, no, it was a homophobic scandal. And then suddenly
with the kid wearing a dress or something?
Yeah. And then suddenly, like 6 months later, as like a PR exercise post that, because he was criticised, suddenly he was very kind of like proactive when it came to like...
That's true. I forgot all about that.
About a year ago, I think we did it on the show.
So
he like, why is Lewis becoming very activist? And I'm like, this is why, because he was criticised for X, Y, and Z.
It was something very innocent, like his nephew or something. His nephew or something had a dress on or something, and he was like, "Oh, don't wear a dress or something." It was very like I would say that to my male nephew too. Like, what are you doing? Don't wear a dress, mate. You look like a fucking girl. Take it off. Now this caused outrage. And instead of, Lewis Hamilton could at that point, he could have changed his path in life, Greeno. He could have become, a hero, but he didn't. He could have said, hey, mind your own fucking business. Like, it's none of your business. I'll say what I want to my own nephew. Thank you very much. But he didn't. You're right. 6 months later, it was like, hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton, and I just want to say that I really care about all the trans children out there in the world. And it's like, oh, fuck me. The 7-time world champion was angered by a racial slur that former F1 driver Nelson Piquet was accused of using during a podcast. Yes, but Nelson Piquet is French. They're racist by birth, aren't they? The French.
Well, no, it was a homophobic slur, and it's Nelson Piquet.
Homophobic. So, well, yes, all these faggots here in Paris. Like, again, he's French. They use a lot of slurs in their day-to-day language. Last month's Red Bull's reserve driver, Yuri Vips, I heard about this too, was fired after he had sent racist messages online. So Yuri Vips, his career is over now. At last Sunday's Austrian Grand Prix, some fans reportedly being racially abused in the stands. There were also reports of sexist and homophobic behaviour from a small number of F1 supporters. Now, I've highlighted this next bit here. Aston Martin F1 say Aiden's contract was terminated, quote, due to poor performance and poor timekeeping.
Nice, Gary!
So these allegations came out after he was fired
Yes.
for poor performance, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Yeah, convenient.
Yeah.
Always seems to be the way.
It was racism, Greeno.
Nice, Gary!
It was racism and homophobia. There you have it.
That's how it rolls.
Fantastic. Let's just
before we
go through to the end. Let's just.
That is at the end, but let's go back
yeah,
to
it is.
Draft Statman if we can.
Oh, it's that man.
I'm a Statman.
God, time's flown tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we've been skipping segments. We're just fucking getting through to the end. We're not mucking around. Not here for a
Not
haircut.
here for a haircut. You were gonna say that.
MLB draft throughout the course of the week, as well as the All-Star game. We'll get to a Shohei Statman in a second that I'm just going to make up off the top of my head. But the MLB draft, I love the MLB draft.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird ones where the MLB draft
I like any draft. I don't know who any of them are, but I love watching them get picked.
I just love it. Yeah, I'm the same. But the MLB I've got into, I remember I was like, about 10 years ago, I was really sick and in bed, and for some reason it was on, and I had the channel on. And I'm like, this is kind of interesting. They're telling me about these kids' stories, and I don't know any of these people. But with the MLB, it's not like NBA where they're going to be playing the next year.
No.
It's like 5 years down the track before they're actually in the league.
It's true. It's a
But
long
still-
wait for, you getting it done, Greeno? Are they going to get that deal done?
They got that deal done. So, but it's still fun to watch and see these young kids and kind of where they come from, who they signed, and their background. It was kind of a historic year this year because it was the first time in MLB draft history that sons of former major leaguers went 1 and 2 overall.
Ah.
So the first overall draft pick was Jackson Holliday, the son of Matt Holliday.
Right.
And then the second pick was Drew Jones, the son of Andrew Jones, former MLB player.
Ah.
So first 1 and 2 picks drafted. Number 3
Wait,
was
so
a guy called
Andrew named his son Drew?
Drew, yeah, it's fucking bit of a dick move. I thought that too. Spelled it the same way, D-R-U-W.
Come on, just call him Junior at that point, right?
Yeah, just call him Junior at that point. It's no good. But well done to those boys. They got a nice little signing bonus. And Kumar Rocker, who got signed, was drafted number 3, which is a bit of a shock because this guy was actually drafted last year. The Mets refused to sign him, even though they drafted him.
Fitness test.
Yeah, we don't like his shoulder. We think his shoulder's fucked. And
He's got a good body, yeah, but he's got an ugly girlfriend, Ugly girlfriend means he's got no confidence. Yeah, but he's got a good swing. The ball pops off his bat. Pops. You can hear it all around the ballpark.
Why doesn't he hit? That's it. So this guy, Kumar Rocker, was touted last year as one of the big guns. Everyone's like, got to get Kumar Rocker. It was Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter Jr. Or Jack Leiter, sorry, not Jack Leiter Jr. And they're like, got to sign these 2 guys. And Kumar Rocker, big college stud, and then didn't end up getting signed. You're like, what the fuck? This is insane. They ended up picking him number 3, a different club this year. And everyone's like, what do you mean you're picking this guy at 3? He's thrown 20 innings in a year. He had shoulder surgery, but good on him. He's going to get a chance.
Nice,
and
Gary.
he's going
Nice,
to
Gary!
be up thereabouts. Now, getting back to Shohei, because there's always a Shohei stat man we're going to throw in.
he's just a freak because every week he breaks another record somewhere.
He breaks another record.
That we didn't even. They're finding records they didn't even know fucking existed, Greeno. Wait, this one's 120 years old. There was only 4 teams in the league back when this record was set. How the hell is he doing it?
Exactly. The Chattanooga Ironhearts back in 1842. He broke some record from them.
The Albuquerque Angels.
Well, firstly, Shohei got his 2nd straight All-Star appearance where he was selected as both a pitcher and a hitter.
Nice, Gary!
That's how good he is.
One day he's going to be the GM as well. He's going to be running the whole fucking thing. He'll take it. Uncle Jerry DePoto should hire Shohei as his next football, as his next manager of baseball, Greeno. Just let him run the team.
Why not? Can't be any worse. And then
you can also fire everybody else too, which Jerry will love. You can trade them out, trade out the staff, bring Shohei in.
bring Shohei in. He does two things. It's a double trade. We can trade him twice.
No, I'm only trading him as a pitcher to you. So he's going to pitch for the Cincinnati. He's going to pitch for Cincinnati, and he's going to hit for Dallas.
Jerry will find a way to do two trades for that. That's how he works. But he led off the game against Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. And they were interviewing before the game. And they're like, Shohei, what's your plan? He's like, I'm hitting the first pitch. And they're like, very funny. And he hit the fucking first pitch, hit of the first game. There you go. Thanks for coming. And
Called
then he
it
got
out.
picked off. Then he got picked off, which was kind of embarrassing. But nonetheless, he called it. He said, I'm going to get a hit first pitch of the game. Move on.
Done.
Shohei, always exciting to see. Second half coming up. Going to be an exciting second half of the year. Not so much for your team.
The Oakland A's.
So yeah, they're tanking again. Not so much on my team where we're there or thereabouts, but we're not doing too much.
Must be running out of high draft picks, Greeno. Got to start losing a few games to bring in some young talent again. The old A's.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they're doing. Troy's team are on a 14-game winning streak.
It's incredible. What's the is the record still the A's, or did someone break it since?
No, someone broke it. Cleveland broke it 3 years ago. Sorry. Okay. They got to like 22, I think, off the top of my head.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, they definitely broke the A's record from Moneyball, the Moneyball team.
The Moneyball era.
Yeah. And B's team doing well, sitting second in their division, but playing some good ball as well. So between the four of us, the Block family, like we'll have someone to cheer for hopefully in the postseason.
Okay, good news. Nice, Gary.
Nice, Gary.
That's it. That's show time.
Done.
Plugs. You're not doing a show tomorrow.
No show for me tomorrow. So this is it for the week. So if you missed out, pooey to you. Too bad.
Anyway, stiff shit.
Anyhow, stiff shit.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
We'll always be bosom buddies, friends, sisters, and pals. We'll always be bosom buddies. If life should reject you, there's me to protect you.
If I say that your tongue is vicious,
if I call you uncouth,
it's simply that.
Who else but a bosom buddy will sit down and tell you the truth?